you're still watching Fut-Afrique, African football conversations at their finest. It's that part of the show where we get to take you out of your misery and answer the trivia question that we asked you this week. At the beginning of the show, I tossed the question to you and I said, when was the last time that South Africa exited the group stages of the COSAFA Cup? It should be easy.
Oh, yeah, Zekal. 2006 was the last time we were knocked out in the first round.
2006, and then actually when you say 2006, I was still in primary school. So you do the math. Do you understand? You do the math, and here they are in the year 2024 out in Gqeberha. They have been eliminated from the group stages yet again. Well, as we say, if you didn't know, well, now you know. Thank you so much for playing along with us. Get the conversations going on social media. Use the hashtag, the only one that matters. That's hashtag Fut-Afrique. Now, there's a burning question on my chest, Jess, and this is simply because I do a lot of work within the women's league within the country. And this weekend, there was a female prominent figure, a legend of the game, who was sitting in the stands, a former player herself, and she was watching the young players. Afterwards, I had the privilege of seeing her go where they walk out to the buses, and she was shaking every player's hand, and I saw the impact it had on the players. How important is it that we keep our legends still embedded within the game, even if they're not coaching, but at least for the players to know that they're watching, they are still coming to the stadiums?
Whew. I love that question because it's very important. I always feel like, and I preach this all the time, that, you know, what is done on the left is not done on the right. You know, we look at your Dr. Kumalos, your Lucas Hadebes, they are still in the space, both Steve Lekwelea, we see them at football events, and young ones still look up to them, and they have the privilege to be in the same space as them. But when it comes to the women's side, you name a few, it's Portia Modise, it's Amanda Dlamini, it's, you know, Coach Dunga. But that's it. But again, also, we haven't created that space where we celebrate them and we give the young girl an opportunity to be in the spaces where they are in. If they're not in the coaching spaces, they're not accessible. We don't celebrate them enough. And we know it's challenging because back in the days when our Coach Desiree Ellis was still playing, we were not exposed to technology to be able to say we've got idols who are female athletes, but now we do. We need to bring them into the space to celebrate them because they did pave a way for the little ones. So I think that legacy just needs to be celebrated and respected.
Yeah, right. I mean, it was such a beautiful sight to see. So that legend, you know yourself, we appreciate you. We love you. I think also just incorporating, and I think just in closing this conversation, the big brands, right? There's a specific brand within South Africa, and they've got former players, legends of the game, who are males as their brand ambassadors. And, or maybe I just don't know, but I haven't seen a female footballer. They've got the male footballers.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. To say, if we're going to bring in a male legend, there is another female legend that can also be part there for inclusivity. We've seen a lot of these big tournaments where you would get girls and boys playing. However, from the MC all the way to somebody who's giving out the trophies and the medals, it's the males. How about you bring in somebody who's played the games, you know?
From ball retrievers as well.
Exactly. And it's so sad that but these are the people that actually represented us and wore that jersey, you know, and we don't see them in these spaces. So we really need them to do better. We want ambassadors from the female space as well.
Incorporate our female legends is all we're asking. Now, we do know that out in Mexico, our they currently, our current stars are shining bright like diamonds because that's certainly what they are. Thembi Kgatlana this week took and I want to say the world. Took the world by storm as she grabbed the headlines that battle between her and Jermaine Seoposenwe. Could we say it's
champions?
Can we say it's like leveled now?
It's leveled, and I love that competition. Let me tell you what I love about the story, right? Firstly, Thembi Kgatlana and Jermaine Seoposenwe are the first two South African players to win gold, to take gold medals in Mexico, right? And again, both of them actually scored. as much as Thembi's team won, but Jermaine also celebrated a gold, and she also scored on that game. You know, she got a gold medal in the previous tournament that she had played. So I think that this, you know, it creates excitement in terms of
Absolutely.
the competitiveness,
even
in them playing. And if they had to come back onto the national call-up, you know, they kind of, it's almost like we're using this level of football and intensity in the specific league, and we're bringing it home. I think it's great competition. I mean, obviously Hilda is also in Mexico. So I think for me, it's just exciting. And I think both the girls just deserve props. I mean, even Jermaine, as much as she didn't live, but I think this time we celebrate Thembi, you know, for walking away with the gold.
Let's talk about the two, right? And I'm not to take anything away from them. You've watched them play within the national team. You've watched them play out in Mexico. Let me know, is their identity and their style of play still the same?
No, there's obviously growth, much growth. And I think you will see the change. When you notice, if they move from different teams, not just teams, countries, I think they adopt to a different style. Yes, there's consistency in the performance that they give, but I think there's massive growth, you know, in how they study the game, how they read the game. The number of goals keeps accelerating. You know, we don't the Thembi we had 2 years ago is not the Thembi we had now, and I think that speaks for every player, and that's what we want, you know. And we're just hoping that we can get a lot more of these Thembis, you know, and Jermaines and the Hildas, so that we have a little bit of opportunity to go to the Olympics. But story for another day.
A story for another day. Chawinga out in Malawi doing big things. Big things on the world stage. A young woman from Malawi. Now, she's a globetrotter. Can you that passport?
We're taking Giboni a picture of her with the FIFA president, and he was speaking so well of her. And I was like, girl, you are a gone girl. Doing absolutely amazing. We've seen what she's done in the international space. She now moves to Lyon, which is one of the biggest teams. She moves to France, which is a country with a very strong, very competitive kind of football, you know, style of football. She's played in Inter Milan, you know, she was on loan at PSG, so she's really played for big clubs. And she is the first African player to win a golden boot in the top league in Italy. That in itself just tells you how amazing this player is. And I know that this move wasn't a move of, we are not so sure. I think they really gained more than she gained, to be quite honest. But I'm super happy for her, and she's going to do amazing.
Amazing things out in Lyon. Thabitha Chawinga. Remember that name? Also know her country's flag, Malawi, because that flag right now is waving harder and higher than it has before. We need to leave those conversations at that. They still continue. So join us again next week.